Okay, this is part 2 of the video for the review of our Unit 9 right triangles. We're going to talk about the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. So if you remember, the Pythagorean theorem is c squared equals a squared plus b squared. We're going to talk about some other things as well. So we're going to look at the lengths, 3 sides of a triangle. So we have 10, 9, and 3. I'm going to circle my longest side. I need to compare that to the other two lengths. So the first comparison is it a triangle? So I have a 10, and then I have 9 plus 3. We want to know if 10 is smaller than 9 plus 3, and 9 plus 3 is 12, so yes, 10 is smaller. So this does make a triangle, that's a yes. When we classify it, we're going to classify it as either obtuse, acute, or right. All right, so I'm going to compare 10 squared. This is for classify. And then I'm going to put that with 9 squared plus 3 squared. So 10 squared is 100. Okay, you have to square the 9 and then square the 3. So this is going to be 81 plus 9. So that's going to give you 100 equals, okay, 81 plus 9. Is going to give you 90. So it's not, actually not an equal sign. So in this case, the square of the hypotenuse is bigger than the square of the two legs added together. So if we get that scenario where we have the square of c squared is greater than a squared plus b squared, this makes an obtuse triangle. Okay, now we're going to look at side lengths 8, 8 square root 3, and 16. So the first thing we have to do is figure out, do we have a triangle? So I take my longest side, 16, and then I'm going to take 8 plus 8 square root 3 and see if that's bigger. So you don't actually have to add it, but you could on your calculator. Because 8 plus 8 is 16, that means that 8 plus 8 square root 3 is definitely bigger than 16. So again, yes, you have a triangle. All right, for classify, we need to take the square of these sides. So we have 16 squared, and we're going to compare that to 8 squared plus 8 square root 3, that whole thing squared. All right, when we square 16, you're going to get 256. And then your 8 squared is 64. And then you're going to add that to 8 square root 3 squared. So that's really 64 times 3. So that's plus 192. So if I add 64 and 192, you're going to get 256. So these are equal to each other. So that means that you do have a right triangle. Next one, I have 11, 11, and 15. So I'm going to circle my longest side. That's the 15. I'm going to write it first. Is 15 smaller than 11 plus 11? All right, 11 plus 11 is 22. So yes, 15 is the smaller once you add the two legs together. So again, yes, it makes a triangle. Okay, now we're going to classify it. All right, I'm going to square 15, and then I need to do 11 squared plus 11 squared. So 15 squared is 225, and then 11 squared plus 11 squared is going to give you 242. So you can see here that adding the two legs together after squaring them is the larger side. That's the larger number. So that means you have an acute triangle. Okay, last one. Let's circle our longest side. That's a 22. So let's see if 22 is bigger than 8 plus 14. Okay, if I add 8 and 14, I get a 22. So this gives me 22 equals 22. So that means there's no triangle. So you can't classify it. So you always have to make sure the three sides actually make a triangle. Okay, now we're going to move into our special triangles. So we have two types, the 45, 45, 90 and the 30, 60, 90. So just to review, you've got your grids that you can make. You've got the 45, 45, 90, and that is a 1, 1, and a square root 2. The square root 2 has to go under the 90 every time. And then on your 30, 60, 90, you have a 1, square root 3, and a 2. And they must be under the corresponding numbers. Those angles refer to the side opposite. All right, so I have a 6 here. And I have a 45-degree angle. So because I have a 45-degree angle, that means I have a 45, 45, 90. All right, so I'm going to put my 1, 1 in my square root 2. I have one of the legs. Now, what do we know about the sides of this type of triangle? Remember, this is half a square. So because it's half a square, my two sides are the same. So I immediately know that my BI is a 6. So that means the only thing left to find is the side labeled FI here, where that's the one we're looking for. Okay, I'm going to use the letter X to refer to that. Okay, I need to set up a ratio. So I can just use this box here. There's my equal sign. I'm going to have 6 over 1 equals X over square root 2. I have a proportion. Remember, you cross multiply. X times 1 is just X, and then you're going to have 6 square root 2. You can just leave it in that format. If you want to go ahead and get the decimal, because some problems require you to have a decimal, then you would put in the calculator, and that is approximately 8.49. Or if you work it with a decimal and you've got multiple choice answers, you can just check your multiple choice answers in the calculator and see which one matches your decimal. All right, so we have another 45, 45, 90. But this time we have the hypotenuse. Remember, up here we were looking for the hypotenuse. So in number 24, we have the hypotenuse. So I have a 45, 45, 90. I've got my 1, 1 square root 2 on the bottom. Okay, I have the hypotenuse, so that is 10 square root 2. I don't know my legs, but I do know they're the same. So you can again set up a proportion. X over 1 equals 10 square root 2 divided out square root 2. So what ends up happening is that square root 2 cancels out, leaving you with x equals 10. So each leg is 10. So CI and IA are both 10. And do you notice what number is in front of our square root 2? So this is the pattern. So some of you are going to get really good at this, and you can just write the number 10 down. All right, now I'm moving on to my 30, 60, 90. So remember, you have a 30-degree angle here. All right, the side given is opposite the 90-degree angle. So this is your hypotenuse. I can make my grid. I have a 30, a 60, and a 90. Underneath, you need to write 1, square root 3, and a 2. And remember, we proved this because it is half of an equilateral triangle. If you go back in your notes, we went through the proof for this. All right, you have the one that's opposite the 90, so put that in the right position. And then let's use the letters A and B for our legs. So our shorter leg A is going to be opposite our 30-degree angle, and our longer leg B is going to be opposite our 60-degree angle. All right, we need to do two equations here. So we're going to start, we can start with B. It doesn't matter which one you start with, but you're going to set up B over square root 3 equals 13 over 2. Okay, you're going to cross multiply. So that's going to give you 13 times square root 3, but then you're dividing by 2. So if we take 13 and divide it by 2, you're going to get 6.5 square root 3. All right, that is the long leg, so that's DE. 6.5 square root 3, and you can leave this in square root format. Then for A, you have A over 1 equals 13 over 2. So this is kind of the easier one to do. That's our A. Okay, if we cross multiply, really we don't even have to cross multiply. What is 13 divided by 2? That's going to give you A is 6.5. And that's your side. That is the EA. So that is the short leg. See if you see the pattern. Half of 13 was the short leg, which is 6.5, and then 6.5 with multiplied by square root 3 is the longer leg. All right, number 26. When I look at my triangle here, I have a 30, 60, 90. All right, the side given to me is the short leg. So I'm going to set up my grid. It's the one opposite the 30-degree angle. So I have 30, 60, 90, 1, square root 3, 2. If you have your formula sheet, I would have that out while you work this. All right, you have the short leg, which is the 3. We are looking for B and C, the long leg and the hypotenuse. So we can set up two equations. 3 over 1 equals B over square root 3. All right, you're going to cross multiply here. B times 1 is just B. So B is going to equal 3 square root 3. All right, B is the long leg. That's side ED. So 3 square root 3 is that length. Okay, now we're going to set up 3 over 1 equals C over 2. This is probably the easier one to work with. All you have to do is multiply 3 times 2, and that gives you the length of your hypotenuse. So 3 times 2 is going to give you C equals 6. Okay, so I have a 6 on my hypotenuse, and I had a 3 square root 3 on my long leg. Okay, now we have two different triangles, but one drawing. One's a 30, 60, 90. One is a 45, 45, 90. So you're going to use all your rules. I'm going to put the pattern on here for you. All right. I have my hypotenuse here. On one side, my hypotenuse is 2x. And then on the other side, we're going to use a different letter. So let's call this A and A. And then we'd have our A square root 2. So don't just use one letter here. Let's work the 30, 60, 90 first, because that's the number I have. So I have a 30, 60, 90, 1 square root 3, 2. Right, I have the one opposite the 60-degree angle. So that goes in the middle, 9 square root 3. We're looking for A, the short leg, C, the hypotenuse. And we're going to use that hypotenuse on our other triangle. And if you want to match your letters, SW is going to be the short leg. That's the SW side. The one you have is WA, and then the 90 degree, the one opposite 90 degrees is SA. So that's the sides of the triangles that these correspond to. All right, let's look for the short leg first. All right, I've got A over 1 equals 9 square root 3 over square root 3. So we're just dividing out the square root 3, giving you A equals 9. All right, so my short leg, that's WS, or SW, is going to be 9. Then to find my longer leg, I've got C over 2 equals 9 square root 3 over square root 3. All right, the square root 3 is going to cancel out. And then I need to multiply 2 times 9. So I need to do my cross multiplication here. C is going to equal 18, which is 2 times 9. Okay, this is the hypotenuse. That is the side SA. Okay, we're now going to use that 18 on our 45, 45, 90 triangle. So now I'm starting on the second triangle. It's a 45, 45, 90. I know the hypotenuse. And I have that 1, 1, square root 3. Hypotenuse was my long leg, so it is 18. All right, we can use X for our 2 legs. So, or actually, we're not using X. We're using A. I have my 2 legs. Let's use the letter A for them. All right. So I got A over 1 equals 18 divided by square root 2. You have a choice here. You can just divide out and get the decimal. So you've got 18 divided by square root 2. Okay, the decimal is going to give you the value of 12.73. Or you can simplify your square root. And that would give you 18 square root 2 divided by 2, which would give you 9 square root 2. So you can write your answer either way, 9 square root 2, and both ST and TA are the same length. Or you can get your decimal value, 12.73. So remember, both methods, or both answers, decimal or square root format, are acceptable. We have a square park with a diagonal walkway from one corner to the other. So square park, draw a picture. Diagonal walkway. If the walkway is about 38 yards long, what's the approximate length of each side of the park? So we know that our square has the same thing on both sides. This is also a special triangle. But if you prefer, we can just use Pythagorean theorem. C squared equals x squared plus x squared. So that's going to give you 38 squared equals 2x squared. Okay, 38 squared is 1,444. And that's going to equal 2x squared. To get x by itself, divide out your 2. That's going to give you x squared equals 722. You then find the square root. So take the square root of 722. And that's going to give you approximately, 26.87. And this is yards. Okay, we've got a couple of questions left. I think I'll go ahead and make another video now. So there'll be a part 3.